Okay, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Today is April 29th, and this is another installment of our SIG CLI blocker bug scrub. Actually, today the host will be Brian. So I'll give you the voice. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay. Are we, refresh my memory, are we going to be going through just bugs or everything in the backlog, in the issue list?
Last time we went with the bugs, and if I remember correctly, last time we started from the beginning to be able to go through the initial ones, or we said that we will go through the initial bugs so that the oldest one could be closed as well, because we're usually going back. But we want to also tackle the ones from the initial times.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, I went through and looked at a little bit. So, I mean, we do have like 33 open bugs in kubectl. And then I also looked in Kubernetes, which I know people aren't supposed to open them there, but they do sometimes. And just for reference, we have 71 there. A lot of those are kind of older though. So I guess we'll just do what we did kind of last time, but try to knock out some more. So you think start from the oldest ones?
Yeah, let's close the oldest one and see how far we can get with those.
Sure. Yeah, so kubectl does not, kubectl get all does not list all resources in a namespace. So this one has been open a while, I think, but it sounds like going down to the end, it sounds like that we might just be able to close this one. It's not going to ever return literally all of the resources, it sounds like. So the question here is, should we just go ahead and close it?
Yeah, all is just an alias. Let me find which one is that. That's 151. I'll leave there a comment about why and how all is being. It is a little bit confusing. That's true, because all is just an alias on the server, and a lot of people think that actually all is all, but it's not. I'll leave there a comment and I'll close it accordingly.
Much is all still statically defined.
It is not, because you can create a CRD and add yourself to the all alias. Basically, when you are defining your CRDs, there's a field, I can't remember off the top of my head what's the name of it, but you can add literally any resource to the all alias. So okay. The alias is defined server side. It is not definitely hard coded on in kubectl. So we are asking whatever the server returns. It also gives the possibility to define your own aliases. It's just a little bit confusing for a lot of folks that all is not all. It used to be all when it was introduced, but it's different. That's why we're not going to fix it. And there were several issues where people wanted to add additional resources to the all alias. But if I remember correctly, Jordan closed those PRs usually because we don't want to expand the all alias. But I think maybe in the long future, it should just be removed entirely. That would be probably the best option.
And there is a plugin that people can use. So there's a workaround if somebody really wants that functionality. All right, next one. Kubectl returns pods in various states. Now I know, I don't know if we covered this one last time or not. I don't think we covered this one last time or not. Actually tagged as a bug. Kubectl returns pods in various states when only those running state are selected. what's happening is, maybe we did talk about this, but what's happening is the pod is actually in a, it's when you do a kubectl get pod, it says that it is terminating, but under the hood, it is actually still running while it's terminating. So it's a little bit confusing because we display one thing, but it's not the real status.
I had a PR that was partially expanding on this one, although it wasn't for terminating. I was fixing the pre-stage of running. So until all of the containers in a pod are running, we will not show running currently. I think I've added there waiting or something like that. I can't remember the exact state, but it was expanded. No, it's not ready. So maybe we could all improve that information a little bit more with terminating. Seems reasonable. But yeah, forcing people to use hacky Go template to be able to get that information seems odd.
Okay, so we'll just leave that one open, I guess, and move
Yeah.
on to the next. All right. This one, we talked. I went back and looked, and we did talk about this one last time. I think it can probably be closed. We were going to reach out to somebody at the end and see if they were satisfied that it was fixed. So I don't know that we need to talk about this one today. Let's see, output Go template returning weird no value. This one, so what's happening here is that their Go template is referencing something that doesn't exist. So in this case, there's no certificate authority data, even though the Go template's referencing it. And what comes back is a string, this angle bracket, no value that comes back. And I looked into this a while back, like a month ago, and it actually is inside Go template processing. There's this line here that basically says to return no value. So we're not doing that in Kubernetes code. It's coming from Go. So I don't know if we want to handle this specifically in a different way, or just say this is the default behavior of Go templates.
This is a default behavior, and just close it. I don't want to have special handling for no value, because the no value could be coming as an actual value, and I just don't think it's worthy to have special handling. If this is how it's being returned from the Go template, that's perfectly valid answer.
Go templates only work for built-in types anyway, right? So like it's already a path that's probably is not going to be future proof.
Yep.
Okay. Additional printer columns for CRDs doesn't work. This is kind of an old one, but let's see what this is. Oh, this one actually, this one I have a PR for. I looked at this one the other day. So I don't know we need to talk about this other than, unless you guys want to. I guess we can still look at it.
Okay, I'll have a look at the PR.
Okay.
After the call. If there's a PR, then we should definitely go through it and get it merged.
kubectl get namespace non-existent should not exit with 0. So this is sort of like, I think there's this whole class of bugs that are related to exit codes, and most of the time, a lot of times we return 0. Sometimes we return something else if there's an error, and then an error condition, I guess, would like something not found. If somebody's writing a script for something and they want to react to something not being found, I guess that's what this would be mostly for.
I mean, I totally agree. I remember that we had the discussion some time ago in one of the SIG CLI meetings. I'm not sure if there is even an issue, but my proposal was that I would like to see a cap describing possible and standardized return codes. And then once we have that one in, then we can start implementing it across the board. I don't want to end up in a state where each command will have different set of return codes and whatnot. Having a consistency being written down in a cap would just make it simpler, because obviously it will take some time for us to go from the current state to every single command supporting it. But every time somebody will be asking about it, we'll just point, yes, this is the return codes that we think you should be implementing, and nothing more, unless you give us a reasonable explanation why we should add those. So yeah, that's definitely something that in the long run I would like to see happening. We just need someone interested in working on it to put together a proposal.
All right, so then further comment on this one, I guess we'll say something like we should have a cap for this that addresses all the exit codes across all the commands.
Yeah.
Okay.
A general cap that will describe a set of reasonable return codes that we can then implement across the board. If I remember correctly, kubectl auth can I can't remember if that's the one. Yeah, if I remember correctly, auth can I returns non-zero code if you don't have access to something. So it does implement this, but I think that's the only one. So definitely a pointer to can I would be a good one.
To can I?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not familiar with that really, but all right. Kubectl edit or apply cannot update status when status sub-resource is enabled.
What's the use case for updating status from edit or apply? Like, I think the API conventions state that the status is derived from like other things and isn't the source of truth for any data. So running kubectl edit to change data that's derived from other data seems maybe not like something
Yes.
new.
So what
I
he's
think one of the
doing,
comments says this is intended behavior. DeBarth commented on July 26, 2019, intended behavior according to the design proposal, and states the part that says that main resource endpoint will ignore changes to the status subpath.
yeah, if that's the case, I'll just close this Theoretically, we could, edit could, we would have to have a hacky way to figure out whether a resource supports status sub-resource, and if not, then do fallback. But a simple workaround for them.
What is this being used for? Like, what problem is trying to be solved?
They've built shell operator for our CID and would like to edit the status field with kubectl within this operator. And that I was actually.
Oh, they want to use kubectl to implement an operator.
Yeah.
Got it.
But then again, they can either use maybe not apply, but they could easily use patch. I think. I'm not super supportive of this.
I think, yeah, implementing operators in kubectl might be out of scope for, currently what it's designed for.
Should I put that in here?
I'll put a comment and close it.
Like I could imagine starting a project which is like, a shell. Like if I could imagine a shell operator project, but that should probably write the Go code to do various things on its own.
Okay, number 573, inscrutable error message. This, I think this is a minor one, but it sounds like there was a pretty long error message about a field being immutable, and it was unclear to this person that what the solution was to solve this problem.
Sorry to interrupt. Apparently I don't have permissions to close these issues anymore. Does anybody else have? I don't see the
use that slash close. Yeah,
that
will
close.
work.
Okay.
Yeah. None of us
Sorry.
that had those access rights before has them anymore because kubectl is a staging repo and they don't allow, they don't give away direct access to the staging repos just in case something.
Got it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Going back to that issue, given this is about kubectl apply, I'm inclined to close it because the path currently is towards server-side apply. And honestly, I can't think of a better way. The message clearly says that the deployment is invalid because the spec selector is immutable. I know it's lengthy because the selectors, the new selectors at least, tend to be lengthy. But the message itself is perfectly clear. What we could do is maybe, I don't know, wrap the message, but then again, yeah.
I think what they're saying is that they tried to deploy, or they tried to apply one YAML file, but then for some reason, and I'm not sure what would cause this, but for some reason, a different deployment was causing the problem, one that wasn't even in that YAML file. Is that what they're saying?
I mean, Not necessarily. I think the problem is that, first of all, he is applying a pre-existing deployment. That's why you're seeing the warning that kubectl apply should be used on a resource created by create or with safe config or apply, which would create the special annotation with the current state of the resource. So when the actual apply logic kicks in, it compares nothing against the current state of the deployment that is embedded in the file, and it notices the changes, which basically means if deployment, and if I remember correctly, deployments do have a defaulting mechanism for selectors to ensure the uniqueness of them, then you will have a modification to the selector. I'm not sure if the selectors is actually modifiable after the deployment, but I doubt that part of the API would change. So that's where it's coming from. The deployment on the server was defaulted. It doesn't matter whatever the value of the file was. And so the apply on the file differs from the one on the server. And since there's no annotation, the diff shows and tries to modify the selector, induce this error. So this is perfectly valid error.
So probably his interpretation of the problem is, he said nothing in the error message indicates the problem is with an existing deployment, but it's not really that the existing deployment had a problem. It's that he was trying to do something that was invalid and he got an error message that, so.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll leave there a comment explaining what's the problem, because he's completely ignoring that warning, and that warning is then the initial bit of the problem. I'll leave there a comment and I'll close this one.
All right, on to page 1. Kubectl should not validate whether there's an active gcloud config. First, let me make sure there's not anything at the bottom. Okay. Okay, so this was reopened. So they had a gcloud config. So I think they're saying if they don't have these environment variables set, they get an error.
I mean,
What's the error? I couldn't quite parse that.
I mean, it looks like the gcloud generated config is somewhat different in that it doesn't work with the bare kubectl. It should. We don't have anything in the kubectl that relies on any kind of gcloud or any kind of provider data, unless something like that is being embedded in the config. So it's more what the config looks like and what is missing, because if it's valid kubeconfig, it will work without any additional settings. So I think someone commented there, Perksu. That's Ahmad. He commented that this is a gcloud bug, or most probably. Oh, it is. So he commented that the gcloud generated kubeconfig has a common path pointing to gcloud, in which case that's a gcloud bug, not a kubectl bug.
It's like it's not even necessarily a bug, right? It's just the way
Yep.
gcloud is implemented. And
Yep.
there you go.
Exactly. It is. It's definitely not a kubectl bug. It is how the gcloud is using the configuration. I'll leave there a comment and I'll close this one.
All right, kubectl get k repeats all headers unnecessarily. Yeah, so this one has got a pretty good example. So they, when they do get k, they get repeated headers for everything, compared to get all, where it's just one set of headers and then all the rows. Sean, you made a comment about it might be related to version skew. So maybe we need to make sure this is still even a problem.
The problem might be that k parses data from the directory, returning a list of resources. And then we are iterating over that list, returning one by one.
What does -f do?
What again?
Question. Like, what does -f recursive do?
Yeah, that was exactly what I was alluding to. I'm pretty sure that if you do kubectl get -f, the result will be similar to -k, because you'll get a list of resources and then we'll react to that list, either applying them one by one or getting one by one, and you'll get the result that will look like this. Theoretically, we could group the resources and get them in chunks, in like by similar resources, but that would still require us doing several, in this example, 3 get requests. Whereas I think get all does just one. I'm not 100% sure, but I can check, I guess.
So leave this one open for now.
I'm gonna reduce the priority. I had put it at P1, but looking at it now, I don't think it's that.
All right, when external IP too long. Okay, so they have, I think this is an IPv6 problem. I don't know. That was kind of weird, but I did look into this a while back. And I wasn't able to actually reproduce it, but I did see in the code where we truncate that to 16 characters. So this point in the code So I don't know if somebody else can reproduce it. I didn't really feel comfortable working on it since I couldn't find, I didn't try too hard, I guess, but I didn't easily reproduce it. But I think I found where maybe it could be fixed. I don't know. Is that something I guess we want to probably support? I don't think I don't think that does it.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
So is this really a bug? I mean, if you just could do the -0 wide and it shows the full IPv6.
Do you think that, I'm not, well, you guys tell me, but I was under the impression when you do -0 wide, you're really just getting more columns. You're not widening the.
More columns, not fuller columns.
Given that we are slowly supporting IPv6 by default, I would expect, because I'm pretty sure that the 16 was there for a reason, and we're not talking about super long host name here, but it does make sense to show the entire IPv6. I'm not sure how long they could be, but seems reasonable.
It's 48. So like I went to this. So 16 is the IPv4 and v6 is 48. So I guess we'll just, I mean, I think this is probably valid, but you just want to leave this one, I guess, as it is. Everything look good on it or not?
I think that's a reasonable request to implement, especially that the numbers are, like you pointed, you have a clear information where they're coming from. So yeah.
Okay. Next, customize set image validating CRDs and fails. I don't really understand this one. So if anybody else has any insight on this.
So is this
Set image under the covers knows a certain set of resources. We are using pod approximate or something like that, basically, and we just don't support clients that are not registered by default in kubectl. So set image will not work, and similarly a couple of others. With the image, is as long as annotations are simpler, because that's part of the metadata usually, and I think this is using dynamic client, set image is not, and it is extracting that information from pod spec. So your object has to have a pod spec, and this is not even done through dynamic client, although maybe it could, but it is hard-coded, and we're directly accessing the Go types.
As you just said, so that image, set image works against hard-coded types. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So the problem isn't customize.
Yeah, I don't understand how customize is
No,
involved in this.
no, yeah, me neither. It's entirely set image problem, not a customized bug.
Okay, so maybe the name needs to be updated or something.
Yeah, so under the
Uh,
cover, it is calling update pod spec for object. And if the resource just, we don't know how to work with the pod spec on that resource, we don't.
And so we could change that image to just continue gracefully if it doesn't know the type and assume that it doesn't have a pod spec.
Theoretically, yes, but I think
It seems like the wrong way to be. Like, there's a lot of kube control commands of this class which we're, I think, moving away from people using anyway.
I mean, overall, it's whether we will return or not an error on this one will be a problem. I mean, I would rather see a clear error that it is not working rather than silently ignoring that error, and people would be surprised that the set image did not set an image. I think the right solution here would be for the cases where we are working with unknown, not built-in type. We could do some kind of approximation of the pod spec and then extract the image field from that one. It basically goes down to the topic, not sure if you still remember, the dynamic commands that we discussed some time ago, so that we could support commands similar like this one, but on the server, because currently we just don't know where in the sealed secret the image field is.
Well, there's like 3 or 4 things going on here. There's at least 2 things going on here. The first is as written, this is not actually trying to set the image on the server. It's trying to set the image on local config. So this command, like the local and dry run, yeah, like this command is not really optimized for that. As are like scale uses the sub resource. So like I think most of these commands are oriented towards modifying that resource on the server, which is kind of an anti-pattern anyway, but maybe good for development. And then the other thing is it's hard coding, where it can set the image. And we already have actually libraries, like this falls into the setter stuff that was talked about at last SIG CLI meeting, where we already have an implementation of a command which can set arbitrary fields based on, right now it's based on metadata and local metadata, but it's possible to use the open API we get from the server to describe where images are, and then set image would be able to set those in the, for arbitrary types, even CRDs. So I think we need to at some point decide, like, if we want, like, how much we want to go forward with this. I think we have the commands available, but do we want to put them in kube control because as a replacement for this, or as a another thing in addition to this, right? Like a different set of commands for manipulating local configuration. We could do that. Do we want to tell people that we're not actively increasing the surface area of coup control or its scope, and this is sort of kind of out of scope, and works because it happens to work for some things, but isn't fully supported, and go use a different tool we're developing? Or do we want to just defer? So I don't know. It's maybe worth having a follow-up on that particular issue, because it is something we've talked about solving, and we have the code, and I think it's the biggest question is one of the degree to which we want to continue to expand the functionality of coup control.
One problem with customized though is that the setters are available in the newer kubectl, newer customized, and we don't have that one yet in kubectl, right?
Actually, so the setters are kind of you're right, but it's actually a different. That's the repo they're in, but they're actually in a different Go module.
Okay.
So the setters were written such that they have no dependencies on anything in staging. Like I was pretty careful about that. So that means we can actually vendor them as cleanly as in like Cobra or any other library which we vendor in. Like we won't have the challenges around dependencies. And they're in, while they happen to be in the customized repo, they have their own subdirectory with their own Go module, which means they're versioned independently. And so the way they're pulled into customize is through that submodule as a dependency.
So maybe we could, for starters, guide them how to use customize with the setters to solve their particular use case right away. And then in the long run, we definitely need to have a conversation around set image and probably similar set commands. If I remember correctly, there's at least a handful of them.
Scale, annotations, yeah.
I'm seeing kubectl set env, image, resources, selector, service account, and subject. We'll have to figure out.
There's also other imperative ones like scale, I think falls into this category. Like
Scale is a little bit different because scale will work just fine even with CRD, because scale is using the scale sub-resource.
But it doesn't work, like local dry run isn't going to work for scale, I don't think, right?
I wonder what would happen with dry run though. And at the same time, I would wonder what would you expect from scale in a dry run.
And I think the scale I expect is going to change the replicas field most of the time, right? It's scale is effectively set replicas for deployments and
right, but it does it through the scale sub-resource. It doesn't modify directly the actual resource. It sends replicas to the scale sub-resource on the server, and server knows how to handle those.
Yeah, the server happens. So the scale is implemented dynamically for the resources on the server. I think what I'm thinking is that there is a large class where scale is used. If you're scaling a deployment, that's effective. Like it used to just set the replicas field, right? That's what it does, and now it calls a sub-resource which just sets the replicas field, but that's what it does. And so if you were looking to do like change the scale of a deployment locally, I think that's another use case to consider.
It won't work this way. So first of all, I'm just looking into it. Scale does not have dry run nor local.
Right.
So it can definitely only work. So I think there are a couple problems. One is commands such as set and the ability for them to work with non-built-in resources. And that's one. This is where the dynamic commands probably comes into play. And then there's the other problem that you mentioned of imperative commands where they, well, no, scale is not one of them. Yeah.
I think we're largely in agreement. It's there's a class of setter commands, right, that people want to run locally, and we
Yeah.
should figure out what we can do there.
Yep.
So as for this bug, I mean, it sounds like there might be something for this specific use case that we could provide. Although this is almost a year old, so I don't know. This person may have already solved their issue,
I mean,
but there's
I
some
would just-
further discussion.
I would just point them to setters. Sean or Phil, can you guys point him to how to use the setters within Customize to achieve what he wants to have?
Yeah, we can just send a link there.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Thanks.
Okay.
One more?
What's that? One more?
Yeah.
Okay. So we just talked about wait command can be more robust.
If I remember correctly, wait is still an alpha command. So PR is open.
Yeah, wait's relatively new.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we would like to see fixed. There were some changes. If I remember correctly, wait. So Wojciech was fixing wait, or maybe recently, because we had a problem with preconditions. So a lot of the commands that we have where we have waiting logic has changed from using wait until to using informers because they are more reliable. And some of them had a precondition function. And that precondition was failing in some cases, in the big clusters especially. So maybe this was fixed recently. I'll have a look and I'll leave a comment in that issue because it might have happened that we already have it, or if not, I'll just ask him or whoever is interested as something that would be good to fix. Yeah, I'll definitely have a look at it and I'll leave a comment there. You're talking, Brian, and but you're muted.
Sorry about that. Try for one more, or are we good?
Okay, let's do it. One last one.
All right. Kubectl parameter show kind combined with -o sometimes is ignored. This one, so I did look into this. I don't remember if I left a comment or not, but I looked into this, and basically what they're doing is, so like normally if you say show kind, you get like pod slash, but if you do -o name show kind, or wait, show kind fault. It's -o name always shows kind, I think is the problem they're saying. but they're expecting just the names, but they can't get just the names.
That means there's a bug in the name printer that it does not respect, that it doesn't respect the show kind flag. I'm pretty sure that we just haven't wired that bit into the name printer.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could. That shouldn't be a big problem. The name printer is part of the CLI runtime, so you could look there if you're interested in fixing this. The CLI runtime name printer.
So there's another part to this. So that's, I totally agree with that. There's another part where they have another after this line here where it says they're trying, and I think this one's a little more complicated to fix, but they're trying to do like a custom column of metadata name, but they want the kind, and it's like, well, okay, yeah, show kind true with custom column of metadata name, and we don't put the kind on that.
That won't work. Custom columns with show kind, it just doesn't make sense, because we don't know which column does what. He can name the metadata name as my name, my fancy column, or whatever, and we don't want to guess this one. So show kind with custom columns just doesn't make sense. The first one, yeah, we should probably fix the name printer. That's literally all it is about.
So you want me to put a comment in here about that?
Okay, I'll leave a comment there.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's all for today. Thanks, Brian, for putting this together and driving the call. Thank you very much
Thanks,
all
Brian.
for attending. And see you next week on our regular SIG CLI call. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.
See you.